So if you see the extent of this kidney, it extends at the level of the spine. It is approximately from the T12 thoracic vertebra to the L3 vertebra. Okay, and on the right side there is a lever. Due to that, the right kidney lies at the lower position as compared to the left kidney. You see in the diagram also, we can see the right kidney has quite lower position as compared to the left kidney. Okay, now the shape of the kidney, it is a bean shape. It is having a hilum on the middle aspect and the convex lateral border, and it measures about the 12 centimeter in the height, that is from the upper end to the lower end. Okay, and it is 6 centimeter in width, and the thickness, anterior posterior thickness, it is about 3 centimeter. So 3 6 go on doubling the measurements, you will get the, okay, the 3 centimeter thick, 6 centimeter it is a width, and height it is about 12 centimeter. Okay, comparing to the kidney, they are of the, both are of the normal size, but the shape of the left kidney is quite longer and it is a slender. Now, what are the presenting points? It has got two poles, that is the upper pole and the lower pole, or the upper end and the lower end. It has got a borders, two borders, lateral border which is a convex, middle border which is indented by the hilum, through which the structures are entering like vessels, and ureter which is coming out. Okay, so that is the hilum which is having a notch, we can say, which is on the middle border. Then it has got the surface, that is anterior surface and the posterior surface, and this hilum, if you see internally, you can see the arrow which is showing the renal sinus. Sinus, it is a space. Okay, so it is a space which is occupied by the pelvis of the ureter and the renal vessels. Now hilum, the structure of the structure which are arranged in the hilum, that is structure which are entering into the kidney and coming out, their arrangement, it is a typical arrangement. You can see valve, that is a vein, renal vein. Most anteriorly, you can see it is shown with the arrow. V, A, it is a renal artery, and U, it is a ureter. So most anteriorly, it is a renal vein. Behind, it is a renal artery and the ureter. So this may be asked as a MCQs, structure arrangement in the sequence. They may ask anterior to posterior. It should be web, that is a vein, artery, and the ureter. So there are the lymphatics which are entering and coming out along with the nerve plexus, that is a sympathetic fiber. Now renal sinus, it is occupied by the renal pelvis. What is the renal pelvis? It is nothing but the beginning of the ureter. It is a funnel shape. Okay, okay. This funnel shape, it is called as a renal pelvis. Now perinephric fat, it is present. You can see this yellow structure which is present in the renal sinus along with the pelvis. It is a perirenal fat, or it is called as a perinephric fat. It is a fat just around the kidney and the renal. Now coming to the coverings, there are different coverings of the kidney. In the first diagram, you can see one covering which is shown, which is a just the fibrous covering. It is loosely adherent to the kidney. Just surrounding the kidney, it is a first layer, it is a fibrous capsule. Next, around just outside that, there is a fat, and this fat is called peri, that is surrounding the renal, that is a kidney. So perirenal fat. Okay, just it will cover above the, which is present, and we have seen in the renal sinus also. Renal fascia. What is this renal fascia? It is nothing but the condensation of the areolar connective tissue. Okay, just around the fat which is present, that is a perineal fat. So perineal fat, just it is covered, we can see, by the renal fascia. And next is the para, that is outside the renal fascia. It is called the pararenal fat, which acts like a cushion. So it will put the keep the kidney in position. Okay, while movements are there, so it will keep the kidney in the position. It acts like a cushioning material. That is a pararenal fat. So these are the different coverings. Now coming to the relations, what are the anterior relations and the posterior relations? They are common to the both the kidney, but they are different to the anterior aspect of the both the kidneys. Now, if you see the diagram, the disposition, if you know the disposition of the viscera in the abdomen. Now we know there is on the right side there is a liver, on the left side there is the spleen, okay, and the stomach, okay, and on the right side again there is a duodenum. Then on the left side is the tail of the pancreas, and there is another structure which is going upward. There's ascending colon, that is large intestine, then is transverse colon. So this transverse colon, it is making angle on the right side and the left side, and it is continuing as the descending colon. Okay, so this colon is also related to the anterior aspect of the kidney, and in between this colon there is a small intestine. So there are coils of small intestine, they are related to the kidney. Now if you see the relations, okay, on the left kidney, on the top of the kidney there is a suprarenal glands, the left suprarenal gland. Then on the left side there is a stomach, so it is related to the stomach. Why it is shown with the strip of some, this is a peritoneum actually, you see. So these are some structure, they are along with the peritoneum, and some other retroperitoneum like pancreas. So on the left side anterior surface of the kidney, it is related to the stomach. So if you see on the left side there is a stomach, it is related to the spleen, so there is a spleen. It is a tail of the pancreas, you can see it is a body and tail of the, sorry, it is a body of the pancreas. So it is crossed by the pancreas, and below it is related to the colic flexure. On the left side there is colic flexure, that is a transverse colon, it will continue as a descending colon making an angle which is called as a colic flexure. Colic, why it is colon, on the left side it is a left, and flexure is an angle. So and it will continue as a descending colon, so it is related to descending colon, and in between there are coils of jejunum. So in all, if you start from the upper pole to the lower pole, it is related to the left suprarenal gland, stomach, spleen, pancreas, left colic flexure, descending colon, and the jejunum. Okay, so these are the in the red mark, which are the structure related to the left side. Now, if you come on the right side of the kidney, mainly there is a right suprarenal gland on the upper pole. Then there is a right lobe of the liver, so it is related to the hepat liver. Then there is ascending colon, and it will form an angle and it will continue as a transverse colon. So it is related to the right colic flexure. In the middle of that, there is a beginning of the small intestine, which is a part of the duodenum. It is the second part of the duodenum, which is related to the middle border of the kidney, and lower part it is related to the small intestine. So in all, if you see on the anterior aspect of the right kidney, it is a right suprarenal gland, liver, descending colon, descending part of the duodenum, sorry, right colic flexure, and the small intestine. So coils of the small intestine, that is jejunum and the ileum. Now, if you see the relation on the right and the left side, the posterior relation, if you see all is the same posterior relation. Both the kidney, they are related to the diaphragm, they are related to costodiaphragmatic recess of the pleura. Okay, then it is related to psoas major muscle, it is related to quadratus lumborum muscle, transversus abdominis muscle, and the nerves, it is related to subcostal nerve, iliohypogastric nerve, and the ilioinguinal nerve. So these are all relations same on the both the kidney. There is one exception. Why? Relation to the ribs. You can see there are two ribs which are shown. That is the last two ribs, which are the floating ribs, 11th rib and the 12th rib. So as we know, the right kidney is at the lower position than the left kidney. So it is not related to the 12th rib. So 11th rib. So it is only related to the 12th rib. So right kidney, it is related to the 12th rib, while the left kidney, it is related to both 11th and the 12th rib, while all other relation on the posterior aspect, posterior surface of the kidney is same for the both the kidneys. So these may be asked for MCQs as a exception, or that is 11th and 12th rib. There is an angle called a renal angle. Okay, this renal angle, it is occupied by the kidney, and it is approach for the operation also. So what is this renal angle? It is the angle between the 12th rib. Okay, you can see here it is a 12th rib, and uh, this is a muscle called erector spinae muscle. We have seen in the back muscle. So there is a erector group of muscle, that is anti-gravity muscle, which is keeping the spine erect. So erector spinae muscle, the lateral border of the erector spinae and the lower border of the 12th rib, it will form the renal angle, which is occupied by the kidney. Next is the costovertebral-vertebrocostal angle. It is an angle between vertebra and the rib. So it is occupied by the lower part of the pleural sac. So here we have to take a precaution when we are operating. We may injure the pleura and we may enter into the pleural cavity, which may lead to the pneumothorax, and that is a dangerous condition. Now coming to the cross section, if you see of the kidney, it is showing the two parts, that is cortex and the medulla. Now if you see in this kidney, the peripheral part is a cortex, and you can see the pyramidal shape, that is a base is directed outwards and the apex directed towards the renal sinus. These pyramids, these form the medulla. Okay, while remaining all part is the cortex. So this cortex, it will run in between the pyramid. So that part is also called as a cortex. So except this pyramid, remaining all part is a cortex. And if you see the arrangement of the vessel, they are passing, they are dividing, redividing. Okay, we see in the blood supply. Okay, so internally, if you take a cut section, macroscopically, grossly, what we see with the naked eye, it is a cortex and the medulla. Now, so what is the cortex and what is the medulla? We'll see. So renal cortex is the continuation band of the pale tissue that completely surrounds the renal medulla. So this is the renal medulla. These triangular shape, there's a renal pyramids. This is the only the part of the renal medulla. While remaining part, okay, this renal column along with the surrounding area, it is called as a cortex. Okay, so this renal cortex, it is continuous band, we said. Extension of the renal cortex, the renal column projects into the inner aspect of the kidney. Okay, so if you see this renal cortex, it enters the in between the pyramid to form the renal column. So the renal column is nothing but the part of the renal cortex also. Okay, and they are separating the renal pyramid, which are the medulla. Okay. Now, if you see this diagram, no, these renal pyramids, no, these are actually what, no, these are the ducts, actually tubular system, which will bring the urine, and this urine, it will pass to the this minor calyx, then it will go to the major calyx, and then it will go to the renal pelvis, and then part of the ureter, and it will go to the urinary bladders. Okay, so this is actually the collecting part, the tubular part, which is seen in the renal pyramid, that we have to see it. Now, if you see the base of the renal pyramid, so this base of the renal pyramids, they are directed outwards towards the convex surface or convex border of the kidney, while apex it is down, apex directed towards the renal sinus. Okay, and this apex, the apical projects, it is called as a renal papilla. Okay, the apex it is of the renal pyramid is called renal papilla, and it opens into the minor calyx. Okay, this minor calyx, they unite, they are 13 to 14 in number, they unite to form major calyx, which are 3 to 4 in number. The major calyx, again, they unite to form the pelvis, renal pelvis, okay, which is situated in the renal sinus, okay. And this renal pelvis, which is a funnel shape, which will continue downwards as the ureter, okay. So in this manner, the urine, whatever the urine is formed, will be carried to the urinary bladder. Now, what is the lobe of the kidney? What is the lobule of the kidney? It is called kidney lobe or renal lobe, renal lobule. So lobe, it consists of the medullary pyramid and its associated cortex. So this part, you can see it is marked here. This is a, we are talking about the lobe, not the cortex and the medulla. Now, what is a lobe, kidney lobe? It is a renal pyramid along with the cortex, which is in relation to the renal. This whole, it is called as the kidney lobe. What is the lobule? Renal lobe is a part of, it is a part of the kidney lobe. It is a part of the kidney lobe, okay, and it is in between the two vessels. In between there is a, so there are, this is an arcuate vessel and it will give the straight vessel, okay, and in between this straight vessel there is a called medullary rays are there. Actually, these are the projections from the base of the pyramid. So in the center there is medullary ray, and on the both the side there is a kidney vessels are there. So this part of the cortex, it is called as our kidney lobe is called as a lobule of the kidney. So there is a medullary in the middle part of the renal lobule, consisting of a group of straight tubules connecting straight tubes connecting to the collecting ducts. Means what? We'll see in the next diagram that will be giving us a clear-cut idea. So remember, what is the kidney lobe? It is nothing but the pyramid along with associated cortex. What is the lobule? Renal lobule or kidney lobule? It is a centrally it is occupied by the medullary rays, and on the both the side it is limited by the renal vessel. That much we have to remember. Now this is about the internal structure. Coming to the what is the blood supply? Okay, what is the blood supply of the kidney? If you see the blood supply, it is a renal artery. So it is a renal artery, that is right and left renal artery, which are the branches coming from the descending aorta. Now what we have to see, first we'll understand the diagram, then it will become easy to understand the blood supply. Now if you see this, this is the renal artery. Now it will divide into 5 branches, which are called as the segmental artery. Okay, so these are the 5 segmental branches. Okay, 4 on the anterior aspect and 1 on the posterior aspect. So there are 5 segmental branches. These segmental branches, they will divide to form the lobar branch. Lobar artery means going to the lobe of the kidney. These lobar branches again divide to form the interlobar artery between the 2 lobes. Okay, so in between the 2 lobes, it will form the interlobar artery. Once we will understand up to this part, and then we'll go to the next part. What is the arcuate artery and what are the other different arteries? Okay, so if you see what I have written here, it is a renal artery which arises from the descending aorta at the level of L2 level. Okay, L2 level. That is a second lumbar vertebra. Now, as this renal artery, it goes towards the kidney, it divides into 5 segmental branches, and that will enter to the hilum of the kidney. 4 which are lying in front, these 4 branches, they are lying in front of the renal pelvis. That is just in front of the ureter, you can say, renal pelvis. That is there are 4 branches. One branch which is lying behind, which is a posterior branch. Now this will divide into the segmental arteries. Now segmental, they are distributed to different segments. There are 5 segments, so it will distribute to the 5 segment of the kidney. Then this segmental artery, now they will divide into the lobar artery, going to the each lobe of the kidney. Okay, these are called lobar artery. Now, before entering to the substance, before piercing the substance of the kidney, it will divide into interlobular artery. Now, what happens to this interlobular artery? Once they enter interlobular artery, okay, now they will go upwards just by the side of the pyramid, and it will go on the base of the pyramid. Okay, and these are called as the arcuate artery. Are you getting it? So these are called as the arcuate artery, which runs on the base of the pyramid. Now what happens, this pyramidal artery, they will give now the several branches. Now these are in between the lobule. Remember, these are in between the lobule. We have seen what is the kidney lobule or renal lobule. So these are called as the interlobular arteries. Okay, so these are called as the interlobular arteries. Okay, and that will ascend in the cortex, and transversely, now this transversely they will give another branches. You can see at the right angle of this straight artery, that is interlobular artery, there are transverse artery. These are nothing but the afferent glomerular arteries. This afferent glomerular artery, we'll see what is the function in the diagram. We'll see there. This afferent glomerular artery, okay, which will go in the Bowman's capsule. Now, what is the function that we should know now? Now, once we know the blood supply, now coming to the next part, we'll go the venous drainage. Before that, what are these segments, segmental branches? Okay, we have seen there are 4 anterior and 1 posterior. So, what are these 4 anterior? Apical and the caudal. That is upper pole of caudal and the lower pole. And there is anterior superior and anterior inferior in the middle part. While there is another that is a posterior. So, there are 5 segmental branches we have seen. Now, this is a flow chart, very simple flow chart, which is showing the arterial supply and the venous drainage. Okay. Now what happens now? The branch which is arising from the abdominal aorta is the renal artery, which will be the segmental artery, which will give the lobar artery, which will divide to form the interlobar artery, and at the base of the pyramid, it will form the arcuate artery. From the arcuate artery, there will appear at right angle, there appear a interlobular artery, and this interlobular artery at the right angle, they will give the afferent glomerular arteriole. Afferent glomerular arteriole, it will go in the kidney and it will form a glomerulus, okay, along with the Bowman's capsule where the filtration takes place, okay, and the blood is returned from the efferent arteriole from the, now this venous blood, it is returned from the kidney by the, now we have to go in the opposite direction of the blood supply, interlobular vein, then it will form the arcuate vein, then it will form interlobar vein, and then it will form the renal vein, and it will come into the inferior vena cava. So that is the venous drainage we have seen. So this is the venous drainage. Already we have seen the last slide. Okay. So we'll not go in the one clinical importance. We'll see the left renal vein is 3 times longer. That is about 7.5 centimeter as compared to the right vein, which is 2.5 centimeter. Because of this reason, okay, the left kidney is preferred for the donation, that is for the live donor for the nephrectomy. Okay, so that is the reason we have seen it. Now this is the diagram which is showing lymphatic drainage, but you can see here there is a part, you can see this is a interlobular artery and it is going the this is afferent arteriole, okay, which will go towards the nephron, which is a functional unit of the kidney. Okay, so lymphatic drainage, it will drain into the lateral aortic group of lymph nodes. So that much part you have to remember. It drains into the lateral aortic group of lymph nodes, while the nerve supply, it is by the renal plexus. The afferent fibers, they are coming to the renal plexus, and they are from the spinal segment of the T10, T11, and T12 thoracic vertebra. So these will form the sympathetic plexus, and it will supply the kidney, that is the nerve supply. What is the microscopic structure of the kidney? Okay. Now we have seen the functional unit of the lung, we have seen the alveolus. In the liver, it is a lobule. The function, likewise, the functional unit of the kidney, it is a nephron. Okay. So functional unit of the kidney, it is a nephron, and each kidney, if you see, each kidney, it is having 1 million nephrons. So you can see such a big amount the nephrons, they are present in the each kidney, and the main function is the filtration of the blood. Okay, so filtration of the blood, which will be done by the nephron, okay, through the filtration membrane. We will not see what is the filtration membrane. It is a different part, different lecture we need. So remember, whatever there is a unwanted things, unwanted salt, unwanted nutrients will be thrown out through the urine. If you see, there is a glomerulus with the capsule. So as I told you, if you see the diagram here properly, you can see this is the vessel, this is interlobular artery, and it is giving the afferent arteriole. Afferent arteriole, it is going towards the nephron, and this nephron, it is having a Bowman's capsule, PCT, that is a proximal convoluted tubule, then loop of Henle, and there is a ascending and descending loop of Henle, and there is a distal convoluted tubule, and ultimately it will form a collecting tubule, and it will form the collecting duct, which will pass through the pyramid, and it will go towards open into the renal papilla, which will open into the minor calyx. Now, one important part I have to tell you here. This is a Bowman's capsule where the filtration of the blood takes place. Where the filtration of the blood takes place, and whatever unwanted thing is there, it will pass through the PCT, that is proximal convoluted tubule, and loop of Henle, and distal convoluted tubule, and ultimately the urine which is formed, which will pass through the collecting tubule to the collecting duct of Bellany, we called it as, and it will pass to the pyramid, and it will open into the minor calyx. Okay, so these are the parts of the nephron which is given here. So glomerulus, where the mainly the filtration takes place. So whatever the ions, they will pass through the proximal convoluted tubule. Again, water and it will sodium, it will reabsorb. Then okay, sorry for disturbance. So this is the main function. Okay, so here very nicely it is shown here. You can see the glomerulus cup shape, and this is a afferent arteriole and efferent arteriole. This is convoluted tube. Okay, so this is mainly the structure which is showing the nephron, the capsule, the proximal blue one, proximal convoluted tubule. This is loop of Henle, and green one is a distal convoluted. Okay. So position of the nephron, it is in the cortex mainly. That much part you remember. It is mainly in the cortex, and the loop of Henle in the medulla. Okay. So this is the Bowman's capsule. Glomerulus, which is a filtration membrane. You can see this is a Bowman's capsule, the parietal layer, and this is a visceral layer. Visceral layer, which is having the cells called podocytes. So this is a filtration membrane actually, through which blood filtrates. You can blood enters and you get filtered, and it will form through the urinary space. This is called a urinary space, and it will pass through the PCT, that is proximal convoluted tubule. Juxtaglomeralular apparatus, it is an apparatus. It is in contact with the afferent arteriole, and the DCT. So some of the cells get modified to form the juxtaglomerular apparatus. Okay, just I'll skip this slide. Yes, this is a filtration membrane which is seen under the electronic microscope. So these are the podocytes, and these are the finger-like process, and these are the flaps which interdigit with each other, which form the filtration membrane. Okay. So last slide we'll see what is the function of the nephron. One is filtration of the blood. Reabsorption, when it's passing through the PCT and DCT, there is reabsorption of nutrients, waters, and essential ions which are required for the body. It secretes active process of removing undesirable molecule and excretion of the urine, that is the waste product of the body. If you see the polycystic kidney, it is a kidney which is showing the cyst, and it is an autosomal recessive disease. There is a communication gap between the secretory unit and the excretory unit. That much part you can remember. Renal agenesis means it is a developmental anomaly. Agenesis means undevelopment. So there may be renal agenesis, and that fetus cannot survive. So there is immediate death. If there is unilateral, one kidney can develop, then in cases it can develop, that child can survive. But if it is a male, there is absence of vas difference. The vas difference which is developing of the mesonephric. Ectopic kidney which is lying from the normal position to the another position. So normally it is a L2 level, but it may there is ascent of the kidney from the pelvic region to the lumbar region. It may get arrested in. Sometimes the two lower pole of the two kidney get fused with each other developmentally, and this type of kidney it is called as a horseshoe kidney. You can come in the lab. There are in a museum you can see this type of kidneys. Okay, so single kidney. This is a single kidney with the two ureters may be also seen. This is another anomaly. There may be acute renal failure, and the causes may be pre-renal due to the sudden drop of the blood from the renal artery due to the shock. Maybe in the kidney, that is a damage to the kidney. Maybe in the block to the ureters. Okay, there is. It may be due to prostate. You can see here. It may be due to the stone that may lead to the renal failure. Nephrotic syndrome, again, it is a condition in which there is a it is a disease which is